What's up, friends? Welcome into Rock Chalk Sports here on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. With Dan Courtwright, I'm Sean Kellerman, getting your week started. And as we have to do, we have to point out that the fall weather has arrived.
It has. It has. Thank you for noticing. I'm feeling very autumn today.
Yes, yes.
Got my nice green flannel on. Got a nice shirt. Got my jeans on. Wearing autumnal colors.
Yes, you are
if
very
you will.
autumnal.
Yeah, dude. I slept with the windows open last night. It was fantastic.
God, that's amazing. I haven't done that in a while.
It's so good.
That's
so good.
That's good. Yeah. Well, enjoy it for 2 weeks before the snow starts coming
No,
down.
I know. Yeah.
That's
no,
how it rolls.
It's gonna go back to like 75 like next week,
Yeah.
which I hate.
What?
I swear.
Hey, we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
We're gonna turn to the
a lot
Weather
of
Channel here.
60s, low 70s. We'll be okay. Hey, we're talking pretty much all things KU here in the opening segment. Going to recap late night in the Phog, do a little whip around. Big story this week though, which you got to keep up on KansasNation.com. Gillen Sunflower Showdown, and not just for football. KU volleyball against K-State as well. Friday night at Allen Fieldhouse. Volleyball's got a big one on Wednesday over at Horace Family Volleyball Arena as well. But KU K-State, some fall ball on the diamond as well over at Hoagland Ballpark. So a lot going on, but certainly a big-time focus on KU K-State football Saturday at 11 at the new booth. Some words on that, perhaps a early week key to the game here in the opening segment, but we'll take you a whip around all things KU as busy season is officially upon us with basketball getting underway Friday, exhibition at Louisville. That's a 6:30 Central tip. Next segment, we're going to talk a little more college basketball. The AP All-Americans were released, and there's one Big 12 freshman on the list and one who's not.
Really?
How about
Can I
that?
take a guess at who it is?
We're not going to talk about that right now, but you're not happy about it, I'll tell you that much. It doesn't matter, right? But still, put some respect where it needs to be.
I like how whenever the preseason stuff always benefits us, we're like, oh, this is great. And then whenever it doesn't, we're like, it's preseason, who cares?
Isn't it great? I mean, it gives somebody something to talk about. Like,
Yeah,
you go back and ever since the polls started, and really ever since social media has been a thing, there's 5 guys who are on the list, right? So, and this can be true for everything. Like, a preseason picks for, whether we're talking, KU's picked 6th in the Big 12 preseason poll, or here's your first bracket title. Like, no matter what, people go, why is Creighton an 8 seed? They should be a 6. Just stuff like that. It gives people something to talk about. Don't take it personally. It's just like I don't get it.
Something I will take personally. Andy Katz came out with his top 10 guards, just guards, this year, and DP was not on that.
That is ridiculous. That is even crazier than the All-American thing.
You know who's number 2? PJ Haggerty.
Oh, God.
I know.
Man, I'm excited to see what comes into fruition on that front. We're talking to Kevin Flaherty at 4:40. We caught up with Kevin a little bit earlier today on Zoom. He'll talk late night. He'll talk expectations for KU in their game against Louisville here on Friday. And, of course, all sorts of highlights on KU K-State football Saturday at 11. After that, it's our Case of the Monday segment.
That's right.
How about Shohei Ohtani?
Oh, my goodness.
Are you kidding me?
I have that on here.
Oh, yeah.
Case of Mondays for Babe Ruth truthers, which you and I have had this discussion. I'm not a Babe Ruth truther. You are. Shohei Ohtani might be the best baseball player of all time, and I actually don't think there's a question about it.
I respect what Babe Ruth did. I'm just not. No, Ohtani is the best to ever do it. I think that's true.
Ever.
Is he 30 or 31, something like that?
Something like that.
3 homers in a playoff series clinching game. 3 with 3 homers. Oh, by the way, sent his team to the World Series. Oh, by the way, he had 10 strikeouts.
It's insane.
It's insane, yeah. So Case of the Monday is coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. After that, we're going to hear everything that Lance Leipold said today at his weekly press conference. We're back to a game week. It's a rather large game week. We'll tap into the mind of Coach at the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour. And then we'll close the show with Monday Night Football game picks. A couple of games. What are your thoughts on the doubleheader?
So
for Monday Night Football itself,
I don't care about the
doubleheaders.
So the game of the year is happening tonight.
But I just mean the doubleheaders in general. Do you like that?
Just in general, I'm not crazy about it.
Game of the year, didn't we have Chiefs Lions? That was solid.
Yeah, but Bucks Lions I think is going to be a much better, because that's an NFC matchup, and that's going to shape up what I think is going to be who could potentially
take on the Chiefs,
right, in the Super Bowl. Exactly. That's why I think it's a game of the year, because it's an not division, but conference game. So that's why I think they're the 2 best teams right now in the NFC. So that's why I'm saying that. Not crazy about the no, I'm not crazy about the doubleheader because of the fact that I always liked that Monday Night Football as a standalone. I always liked it felt bigger to me, right? Because I mean, ask me right now. I probably should know this. I don't even know who the other game is.
Seahawks and Texans.
Who the hell is going to be watching Seahawks Texans
So
when the Buccaneers and the Lions are playing?
okay, so I'm gonna have to educate you here for a sec.
There's an hour difference. So they're going to be going on at the same time, aren't they?
No, it's a 3-hour difference. So
Oh,
that
there's a
brings me to my
3 hour.
next point. 6 o'clock,
Maybe I was looking at
Bucks Lions. 9 o'clock, Seahawks Texans. You have to like that more. That's 2 standalone games.
sure.
So that's gonna be my answer, as I know you're gonna flip around the question and ask me. They've done 6:15, 7:15 for the Monday Night Football doubleheaders. Even last week they did, right?
Yeah.
That's stupid. I hate that.
That
Like,
yeah.
I like having more games. Like, I don't necessarily love when I'm watching Red Zone and there's 7 games on and then there's 2 games on. 7
Yeah.
games in the noon window and 2 games in the 3 o'clock. Like, I want there to be more football, more sports on
Sure.
different times. And
You like the standalone. Yeah. Which
I
like
like the
if
standalone.
they I guess I
If
didn't realize.
there are only a few
Yeah,
games,
because
then
last
yeah.
week, like you said, it was 6:15, 7:15,
Right.
and it was like, okay, well, I can't watch both of
Right.
these
The problem
games.
is you can't always put the Seahawks or the Cardinals or the Raiders in prime time for that time zone,
True.
right?
True, true,
So
true, true,
it
true.
worked out. The Seahawks are good this year. You can put them at 9, and yeah, Bucks Lions is at 6. I'm okay with one Monday Night Football game if there has to be, but I'm also good with the doubleheaders. You got to make them standalone.
Yeah,
Why not? Like a 9 p.m. kick, sign me up.
right. If they're a true doubleheader and they don't cross, then it's fine. But when
Yeah.
they're both going on at the same time, I don't like it because it doesn't feel as big. Like I like I said, I like the standalone games. I
Right.
like Monday. That's why I always thought Monday Night Football. I even thought that was a great thing about Thursday Night Football. Right, Thursday Night Football is always terrible. It's always like Jags, Titans.
But it's
But it's
standalone.
always
It
it's like
feels bigger.
standalone. And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna watch
Right.
Jags Titans.
They have really improved on Thursday Night Football, though.
Absolutely,
They
they
have.
have.
When they first started, yes, it was Jets Browns every other week. But they have really, really improved on that. They're giving, I mean, the Chiefs play Thursday Night Football every year.
Yeah,
They're giving everybody a chance, and they try to make sure that they don't bury it. Like, thank God. There are going to be some of those games, though, like
yeah.
Panthers Jets over the weekend. Bury that at the noon slate on Sunday. But occasionally, yeah, Thursday Night Football, they're going to have some of those teams. All right, let's get into this late night recap. Dan got a chance to see some of the guys on Friday. It's always a fun time. It's one of those things where it's a scrimmage. It's clearly a scrimmage,
Yeah.
and you see the women's team, you see the men's team scrimmage. They're out there, they're having fun. A chance for them to show their personalities a little bit in terms of dancing. There's an entertainment factor, and we know there's been a lot that's been made about that as well. You didn't have the big name artists coming in, and we understand the reasons for that. But still a chance to see the guys and gals in action. KU basketball, as we talked about, should have a top 15 team in the country this year, top 10 maybe, and a team that certainly is going to compete with the best of them. And it wasn't a game by any stretch, but it's the start of another year of Kansas basketball.
I would even say that you have a women's team who is primed to be in the top 25. You know what I mean? Like, I think that with this recruiting class that's coming in, being able to see Libby Fandel and Tatiana Brown and Julia Davis and Keely Parks all out there on the court, I think that's awesome. And look, here's the thing. We talked about it all last week, right? With our guests, and I kept on asking our guests, like, what can you even pull out of Late Night in the Phog? And all of them had a little different answers. I think Tate even just said, like, oh, it's just whoever's out there. You know what I mean? He's just like, or whoever's not out there. Like, that's what he's looking at in terms of like, oh, who's injured? Because there's not a lot of basketball you can really look at and say, oh, that's what we're going to see, because it's not what you're going to see. There's no defense whatsoever. It's essentially a practice. It's a fun thing. It's kind of like the NBA All-Star game that's for the fans. Overall, I thought it was a fun atmosphere, right? I thought the videos were great. The time machine video was great. A little weird that Tony Bland was playing Paul Pierce. That's like my only criticism. It's like you couldn't find someone younger to play a high school Paul Pierce trying to come to Kansas. But anyway, that was like the one where I was like, okay, interesting, a little interesting. But I thought that video was hilarious. Justin Cross, by the way, best dancer on the team, I think. Justin Cross, maybe Jamari McDowell, but Justin Cross for it makes up for his basketball skills, I think, which is probably rude of me to say. But he's a good dancer. He is a good dancer. He's a fun dancer. He's got maybe the most personality. A lot of the videos were a lot of fun. I thought the fans they did bring it. The student section was loud. It was good to feel. It's good to be back, right? I mean, look, and there's a lot of criticisms about it. The magic of that place just never goes away.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter where you are, what time of year it is, whether or not it's, KU taking on Duke or KU taking on Fort Hays State. The magic of that place just never goes away. There's always just something about it where you get goosebumps walking in there. You hear that crowd for the first time and you go, "Man, that is just there's nothing like it." And you felt that. And this is the first time that, I or anybody has felt that since whatever February, or I guess it was late March or early March, I think. It was the last home game.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, look, I loved it. I love being back in Allen Fieldhouse. Late night, it's obviously a fantastic tradition. I'm glad they're continuing to keep it going. In terms of basketball, didn't really see a lot, right? Darren Peterson hit 0 threes. I think on the whole, the men's team went 2-15 from the 3-point line. I did like the fact in the women's scrimmage, you could probably pull a little bit more out of it because you can look at that and say, okay, there's a lot of things that I think are going to translate over. Like Elle Evans was shooting lights out. I think she had like 11 or 13 points or something along those lines in 10 minutes. Julia Davis was doing awesome stuff down low. By the way, Nadira El Tayeb, game winner,
Yeah.
unbelievable, right? Look,
Program gal.
You love to see that on Nadira El Tayeb, and we haven't really talked about Nadira El Tayeb, but it's like, oh hey, maybe she could be a solid depth piece, right? I mean, we don't have a lot of bigs in terms of size. She's probably the biggest girl that we have in terms of size. Reagan Williams is going to get the start at the center position, and Julia Davis is going to be that 4 spot. But if Nadira El Tayeb can come in and get some points and get some stops, I think that'll be awesome. But overall, I thought it was a fun experience. They had the Dream On, and the Dream On video played afterwards, and then afterwards, I mean, it was very clear. Bill Self says this every single year. They go, "Hey, Bill, what'd you see?" And he goes, "I saw horrible basketball. I saw no defense. None of it is reflective of who we are as a team." And that's what he says every year because obviously it's practice, it's scrimmage, it's for fun, it's for the fans. So the fans that did show up, like I think that they genuinely did have a really good time. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's what it's supposed to be about, right? It's supposed to be about having fun, and you get a chance, like I said, to see a little bit of basketball. It's
Yeah.
not going to be like a game day, and that was well said. How you brought up the magic of that place does not leave. Yeah, it's going to be one level different when UConn comes in, and it's
Right.
going to be one level different when conference play starts, and when BYU is in, and then hopefully Kansas is in the Big 12 conference race. We expect they will be late February, early March, and it's going to be another step up. And obviously, you got the K-State game culminating on March 7th that ends the conference season. So yeah, it's going to be electric in there. That's not really what Late Night in the Phog has been, and it's not going to be like that, right? Because it's a scrimmage. It's about having fun. They had a really cool Phog Fest outside
it was
that was
great.
put on. It's about the kids getting a chance to get them out there. So there was that. But yeah, it's going to be different when the games start. The only thing I'll say is that the students who did bring it, and they're going to be great this year.
Yeah.
Last couple seasons have been disappointing from a win-loss standpoint. We understand that, particularly with preseason projections and all that. Dan and I have talked often about the fans, the students in particular, needing to remain standing, start the Rock Chalk chant when appropriate, continue to keep the energy in there, because that's what makes Allen Fieldhouse so special. The booing of Hunter Dickinson, we gotta bring up. It wasn't everybody, but I just want to say, and I know you have thoughts on this as well. To me, he's still a Jayhawk.
Yeah.
Not only is he still a Jayhawk, he was a very successful Jayhawk on the court, an All-American type player, and it's just a bad look for many reasons. But what really bothered me about it being Hunter Dickinson in particular, not that I would be okay with KU fans booing anybody who donned the crimson and blue. This dude, in his 2 years at KU, ended every single one of his interviews by saying Rock Chalk.
Absolutely.
Every single time we spoke to him, whether that was a one-on-one interview with guys on the Jayhawk radio network, whether it was an ESPN interview. KU beats Duke last year. Hunter Dickinson, if he's interviewed after that game, he's saying Rock Chalk. KU has tough losses at home last year. They had 3. Hunter Dickinson always goes to the podium. He takes accountability. He did all of that. And he ends all of his interviews with Rock Chalk. He loved being here. He gave what he had, Sure, just like all players, he had his deficiencies. He still was an All-American. His senior day, he had 33 and 10, Dan. So, and again, even if he didn't have those numbers, I still wouldn't be okay with it. But it's just I just that's not gonna sit well with me. That's not what KU fans are about. This guy gave his all. Fans can go and they can show up to games and they can support and they can voice their frustrations, and certainly they do all that. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on with these guys, and don't act like these guys didn't try, didn't care, and yeah, that just won't sit well with me. So hopefully that was just a few fans out there who were just upset with the past couple years and ready to move on to a new roster, which I get, but directed at an individual, I think that was tacky at best.
Yeah, I think when you look at the last 2 years, who's the face of that team? And it was Hunter Dickinson, right? And I think it's sort of a scapegoat situation, if you will, right? I mean, Hunter, he came in 2 years ago and he was paid a lot of money and he likes to play that villain card, right? People in the Big Ten did not like him because he was good at basketball, right? He was cocky but in a fun way, and I actually respected that, right? Whenever I watched him, because I was well aware of the reputation Hunter Dickinson had while he was at Michigan. I thought it was like a fun kind of back and forth between him and the fans. Like there wasn't any real hatred there. It was just like, oh, they're mad because he's good and he's cocky and he's kind of rubbing it in their faces, right? But when you look at the last 2 years, or the last 2 years were the worst of the Bill Self era. And who was the face of that? It was Hunter Dickinson. Hunter Dickinson was the face of the program, not the face of being bad, but he was just the face of the program, right? The guy was a walking double double. He, like you said, 33 and 10. And on his senior night, he said rock chalk after every single interview. He genuinely loved being here. He was an All American type player. When if you didn't have Hunter Dickinson on any of those teams, I think you
Oh my
would
God.
I mean, could you imagine how much worse we would have been? And this isn't even throwing Flory Bidunga under the bus, but it's like having a freshman Flory Bidunga who at times you could tell he was clearly not ready to at least be in a starting role at that 5 spot. I mean,
Right.
Kansas would have been terrible last year
Well,
without Hunter Dickinson.
and again,
And
are we even taking away the Dickinson factor and how good he was? Are we going to boo AJ Storr and Rylan Griffin if they come back? Like,
right, yeah.
are we going to boo them? They didn't say anything bad about the University of Kansas.
No,
Did it
absolutely
work out
not.
when they came here? No.
Yeah.
But are we going to boo them?
Yeah,
I mean,
nobody's
they
ever
chose to come to KU. It didn't work out.
exactly. Nobody's like, yeah, no, none of these guys have ever said anything. Hunter Dickinson has never said, "Oh, I hate Kansas and I'm glad I'm out of there." He's never said that, right? He's very proud to be a Jayhawk, and if you booed him, why? Like, I genuinely want to know why, because it doesn't make sense. If you look at the numbers, if you look at how much he appreciated being here, yeah, was he a good rim protector? No. Is that look at the other stuff, right? Like I said, he was a walking double double. He was an All American type player. Why are you booing that guy? And again, I just think it's sort of reactionary, just kind of a scapegoat, kind of like, oh well, last 2 seasons sucked. Oh well, when it all going to start going to crap? I guess it was when Hunter Dickinson came. So I guess we don't like Hunter Dickinson. No, that's not the case. Hunter Dickinson was still a fantastic player, right? I mean, if you look at that, like look at like Dedrick Lawson. Dedrick Lawson came in and they weren't exactly fantastic. But he was an All-American guy. Nobody's ever booed Dedrick Lawson. It doesn't make sense to boo. Now, look,
It's okay if he's not your favorite
yeah,
Jayhawk of all time.
if he
Like,
punched your
I get
dog
that.
and stole your girlfriend, fine, boo him, right? But I can't imagine everybody in that stadium that happened to him, right? It completely baffles me why people were booing Hunter Dickinson because of. I understand it's easy, and I think you said this. It's lazy. That's the lazy take, is to say it was Hunter Dickinson's fault. Absolutely lazy. You don't know ball if you think it was Hunter Dickinson's fault for the last couple of years. Is an accumulation of plenty of different things. There's poor shooting outside, right? There was a bad chemistry. A number of different things happened to where the last couple of years didn't exactly go the way that Kansas wanted it to. It's not Hunter Dickinson's fault. If you booed, you I don't know. You just shouldn't have.
Put it
Absolutely shouldn't
behind
have.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna put it behind me. But yeah, that's.
well,
I'm glad you brought that up, because that needed to be addressed, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Because here's the thing: there's recruits in that building. What is that going to tell the recruits? If you come here and you don't live up to our expectations, we're going to hate you. That's a bad look to project on these recruits. That's a horrible look. If Talon Kinney was there and he saw that, oh well, Hunter Dickinson came to Kansas and he didn't play to the expectations, which, by the way, He was an All-American. What else do you want from him? If he didn't play to the first team All-American level, instead he played to the second team or third team or whatever he was, and you're booing him, what does that tell the recruits? That tells the recruits that the fans are hostile towards their own players, and that's not the way that we do things here at Kansas.
And again, it's a good point. We've both brought it up how he was an All-American. Like
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. But I'm going to continue to say he was a Jayhawk.
Yeah.
I don't care what his production was.
Right.
There's a certain element of that needs to be brought up. It doesn't matter if he didn't have good individual seasons, which he did. Then you're still not going to boo. Let's not boo current
Yeah.
Jayhawks. Let's not boo former Jayhawks.
Diallo.
You can boo Mizzou. Let's do that. You can boo Mizzou.
Yeah.
That was too long on that, I'm sure. But yeah, obviously that just didn't sit well with us. That's not what Jayhawk fans do. So hopefully that's the end of that on that front. Mentioned KU volleyball. They've got a rematch against TCU coming up on Wednesday, and then Allen Fieldhouse, 8:00. If we get 10,000 in there, KU volleyball's head coach, Matt Ulmer, will sing the national anthem. Let's fill Allen Fieldhouse. It can hold a lot more than the Horse Family Volleyball Arena. K-State, Coach Ulmer said today when he went with the media, they're an NCAA caliber team. Obviously, you got to get past TCU, which is a little bit of a challenge on Wednesday first. But yeah, let's make sure we pack the Phog and support KU volleyball on Friday. That's at 8 p.m. First serve. KU soccer, a clutch victory over Cincinnati yesterday, 1-0. That needed to happen. KU gets all 3 points from that one after they played West Virginia, a top 10 RPI team, to a draw on Thursday. KU soccer has a big road swing coming up, and we'll have more coverage on that later in the week. BYU and Utah, 5 days out on or near the Salt Lake for KU soccer. Mentioned KU baseball has fall ball as K-State comes to town. That's going to be Friday afternoon. But Dan, let's talk about the big thing going on Saturday, the Dillon Sunflower Showdown, 11 a.m. at the booth. Elephant in the room, K-State's beaten us 16 straight years. That's what needs to end. KU, each of the last 2 seasons, has had very unfortunate gaffes at crucial parts of the game that have played a big role in them losing. You think back 2 years ago here in Lawrence when KU was down both Jalen Daniels and Jason Bean. Cole Ballard should have won that game as a true freshman. He did everything he could to win that game as a freshman. You really saw Cole's toughness, and he had KU right there. You had Rich Miller have a walk-in pick 6 that he was unable to hold on to. Yeah. And then, of course, you had Trevor Wilson's muffed punt that K-State recovered near midfield. Somehow the Wildcats walked away with their 15th straight win. And then last year in the Little Apple, KU loses by a pair. Jalen Daniels, of course, had the fumble late. But before that, when KU had started off so good, you had the kick return gone wrong when Jameel Croft caught it inside the 5, went out of bounds. It led to 9 quick points the other way for K-State. So just issues, most of them on special teams that have led to this streak now being 16. This is going to be the highlight of our coverage this week on Rock Chalk Sports, but this is an opportunity for Lance Leipold, Jalen Daniels, and the rest of the members of the KU program to get it done against a K-State team that does not look as strong as it has been, and a KU team that has the pieces, has the talent. They got to make it happen on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think that this potentially, and I think someone asked this in the mailbag last week, this is probably the biggest game of Lance Leipold's career at Kansas in these 5 years. You look at some of the other ones, like, maybe the Guaranteed Rate Bowl was obviously a huge win, right? And the Liberty Bowl was the first bowl game that they had been to since 09, or I guess it was 08. This is the biggest game of his career. 100% because of the fact that he wants to be the coach. And sure, he downplayed a little bit the rivalry just because of the fact he brought this up in his press conference, which we'll hear later. He said, "Oh, just because we're playing this team and that's going to make us play extra hard, does that mean we're not playing hard in the other games?" It's like, oh, that's actually a good point. It's like, but it's still I think he understands the largeness of this game for the fan base, for legacy, for history books, just being able to finally break that streak and break the chains of those handcuffs that have been holding us down for the last 16 years. Also, this is going to be an opportunity for Jalen Daniels to potentially have a legacy game. Like, if you can look back on Jalen Daniels' career and say, yeah, he also broke the 16-year-long streak of K-State beating Kansas, that's just going to improve upon Jalen Daniels' accolades that he has received in his time in a Kansas jersey. So I think that's absolutely going to be huge for him. This is going to be the biggest game, like I said, of Lance Leipold's career, also Jalen Daniels' career. I truly believe that, because this is going to solidify his legacy as a Jayhawk. We said this about the Mizzou game too, and obviously the Mizzou game didn't exactly go our way. But this K-State game is 100% huge, and this is such a great opportunity for Kansas to take this, because of the fact that K-State's down and Kansas has momentum. And sure, you can look at that Texas Tech game and say, "Oh, they lost a bunch of momentum." Look what Jalen Daniels is doing, right? Look at the way that his wide receiver core is meshing together and continuing to mesh together. Look at the run game. Look at the defense. I think the defense has been outstanding over the last few games, aside from the rush defense against Texas Tech. All of these things coming together, with K-State being bad this year, Kansas on the up and up. I feel so good about this game, man. I just feel so good about this game. It's going to be in the new booth, and if you lose this game in the new booth, it's going to start to get some, probably not great stories out there from the fan base. So you absolutely have to win this one.
It's important for the historical context of the last 16 years, right, where KU has not been able to knock off the Cats, but there's also the fact that KU's trying to still have a really successful season, and that's all still in front of them. KU schedule-wise, this season, they don't have to face a lot of teams that are really good. Arizona State, Baylor, TCU. We know they had to go to Texas Tech, but it's also a season where you got UCF, you get Oklahoma State, you got West Virginia, maybe the three bottom teams in the conference. So you got to stack up these wins. You win this game, you're 5-3, and then you've got a really bad Oklahoma State team coming in on November 1st, which it was just announced. Homecoming is going to be a 3 p.m. kick on Saturday, November 1st. So get that in your calendar. That came out earlier today. But you beat K-State, you feel great about, at the very least, going to a bowl. At that point, you'll have 5 wins, of course. You beat the Cats, with Oklahoma State coming to town November 1st. If you're 6-3, again, those teams I mentioned that you don't have to play, you ain't seeing them. Yes, you still have a hard final 3 games where you have to go to Iowa State, to Arizona, and then you got Utah at home, but there's Kansas is going to be in those games. They're going to be in those games, and they can win those games. So let's see what happens, but it all starts on Saturday at 11, because it's time for KU to get it done, and hopefully they can make that happen. Going to talk a little college basketball on the national scene after this, plus we'll recap the Chiefs' domination of the Las Vegas Raiders before we bring on Kevin Flaherty to talk more things KU at 440. You're watching Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com and listening to ESPN Kansas City.
This is Daniel Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. Dan, you just giggled. Is it something that's suitable for air?
No, it's not.
Okay, well, there you go. You can tell me a different time. Here we are. We're going to be joined next segment by Kevin Flaherty of Kansas City Sports Network. He joins us every Monday on the show, and then 5 o'clock we will have our Case of the Mondays segment. Dan, wanted to talk about this before we talk Chiefs. AP Preseason All-Americans are here. Let me read them to you. We got Braden Smith, not surprising. He's the preseason Big Ten Player of the Year, and he was that postseason last year from Purdue, who had another really solid season. JT Toppin's on there. He's the reigning Big 12 Player of the Year. Yaxel Lindeborg, you remember him from UAB. He transferred over to Michigan.
That's right.
Alex Condon from Florida. So the reigning national champs have a player on here. And then AJ DiBanza from BYU is also on there. So there are a couple oversights, in our opinion.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Remind me, does it go by position? Or does
it go by position? No.
So it doesn't go by position.
Can be anybody.
I was going to give the AP an out and say, all right, sure, Braden Smith, fine.
Yeah, and he's the only guard on this one, by the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is an abhorrence to the face of basketball. This is ridiculous. By the way, I hate
the face of basketball. I love it.
I hate this. I absolutely hate this that DP is not on here. Look, you can Yaxel Lindeborg, fine, right? He was really good at UAB, but that was at UAB, right? He's in the Big Ten now. Who knows how well he's going to do? Now, granted, you can say the same thing about DP, but also he was playing in the AAU.
Peterson should be ahead of at least Alex Condon of Florida.
Absolutely. I mean, but do you think they're just throwing them a bone? That could potentially make sense to me, that they're just throwing them a bone because they won a national championship. Sure, fine. AJ DeBonsa, which by the way, footage came out. I believe they played a secret scrimmage against, was it UNLV?
Nebraska.
It was Nebraska.
Yeah.
So BYU played a secret scrimmage against UNLV. AJ DeBonsa did not look good, right? I
Yeah,
saw
BYU
some,
actually lost by 1 according to reports in
yeah,
that secret scrimmage.
I saw some bad stuff. I saw
Can we
some,
call the KU Louisville game a secret scrimmage, even though everybody knows about it? It's been
and it's
widely
going to be,
marketed and it's going to be televised.
yeah, it's going to be televised. It's going
I
to be
think
on the
it's
radio.
secret scrimmage. Yeah, secret scrimmage.
Yeah, we'll do a Rock Chalk Sports After Dark
Yeah.
to discuss that. To
See what we saw behind closed
right.
doors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're like in World War II when they had like secret like radio broadcasts going out that were like
Meanwhile, it's
illegal
all
to
over your
listen
Twitter
to.
feed.
Yeah, exactly. Right. DP not being on here, like I said, it's asinine. It's ridiculous. And he absolutely should be on here because of the fact that he is a better A prospect and B, he is going to be the leader of this team. BYU has multiple leaders on their teams with Richie Saunders and Rob Wright. AJ Bonsa, he's not going to be the leader of the team. Darren Peterson, coming in as a freshman, is going to be the leader. You can look at Flory Budunga, sure, that's fine, because he's the only other person who played a single minute of action from last year's Kansas team. But you cannot look me in the eye and tell me that you think AJ DeBonsa is going to have a more impactful season for BYU than Darren Peterson will have for Kansas. I think if you take AJ DeBonsa off BYU's squad, they do not get that much worse. I think if you take Darren Peterson off of Kansas' squad, I think they get substantially worse because the ball is going to be going through the ball's going to be going through DP every single possession. He's going to be the one who's bringing up the ball, taking shots, and facilitating. AJ DeBonsa is going to be down low, getting the ball every once in a while, shot blocking. That's great. But DP is going to be the Big 12 freshman of the year. He's going to be an All-American. And look, the AP preseason stuff, it doesn't matter, right? It's just adding fuel to the fire for DP, I think.
I'm fine with that because of that very reason. Like rank
Yeah.
us 19, like we've said. I do kind of think maybe on a future show we can break down that line of thinking because is that line of thinking the way to go?
Which one?
If you take this guy off this team versus if you take this guy off that team. You know what I mean? I just think there's different ways to think at that. Like Patrick Mahomes, who we're about to talk to, I think that's more so fair,
We're
right?
talking to
Because
Patrick
the
Mahomes?
about to talk about. I wish. Yeah, he's maybe someday we'll get him in here. But no, yeah, interesting on that front that DP is not. I think everybody expected him to be a preseason All-American. He's projected to go number 1 in the NBA draft.
Right.
Whatever. That's what the AP thinks in the preseason, at least as a whole. Let's talk Chiefs football, Dan.
Yes.
It was a bloodbath, 31-0. This is what Chiefs Raiders games are supposed to look like. It was just an absolute domination. Let's start with Mahomes, and then you can take this wherever you want. Patty was 26 of 35. 286 yards, 3 touchdowns, also had 4 rushes for 28 yards. This dude's on a different level right now. You look at DraftKings, and he's now the odds-on favorite to win the MVP at plus 150.
Rightfully so.
Baker Mayfield hasn't played yet. Of course, he gets a chance in the limelight tonight against the Lions, plus 320 for Baker, who right now is second. Chiefs are now favorites to win the Super Bowl, plus 500, and relatively large ones, as the Bills are plus 750. Packers and Lions are both plus 800. But I think the Chiefs are chiefing again is what's happening. All of a sudden, you're getting your offense back to go along with this defense that the past couple of years has kind of carried this team. Rashee Rice returns. That was fun. Your thoughts overall?
Yeah, I think that you're starting to see more of the beginning of the dynasty as opposed to the back end of the dynasty now, right? Especially with Rashee Rice coming back. Rashee Rice had a fantastic game, 7 receptions, 42 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, they used him as much, way more than I thought that they would use him, considering the fact that he hasn't played football in a long time. You're right. He went out with an ACL injury from last year and had the 6-game suspension. And they absolutely were like, "Hey, man, we got him out there on the field. Let's go ahead and utilize him because he's our best weapon." And I think that's only going to continue to grow throughout the rest of the season. So really pleased with the way Rashee Rice was able to play. And now all of a sudden you're looking at this wide receiver core with Hollywood, who had a fantastic game as well. You're looking at Xavier Worthy. You're looking at Travis Kelce, who still looks good, by the way. Kelce had 54 yards. He had a 44-yard reception in that game. I mean, he's still looking good too. So yeah, I mean, just it feels more like the front end, right? Because this Chiefs team, they changed kind of after that Super Bowl drought, I guess you can call it that, where they didn't go to the Rams Bengals. It felt like after that
Right.
everything kind of changed, right? To where it was like, okay, well, the Chiefs defense is really good, and they had Patrick Mahomes to kind of extend those leads and keep them in games, and then they can win Super Bowls that way. But really, it was like, hey, the defense is so damn good that they're just not going to give up any points. Where at the front end of the dynasty, you look at the 19, 20, 21 teams, they were just throwing the ball all over the place, left and right. And, you know, you had Tyreek Hill out there, and that was fun. And Sammy Watkins, he was a blast. And you had Patrick Mahomes putting up 50 touchdowns a year. It's fantastic. And we haven't really seen that over the last 3 years. And now we're starting to see more of that. And I think it's a thing of beauty to see that. And Mahomes, it's crazy to think this, but he almost feels more comfortable. It's not that he was never uncomfortable. It's the fact that he was already so comfortable, and now he feels like he's more comfortable out there, whether or not he wants to go on the run, or whether or not, you know, he wants to throw those deep shots. He's fine with doing anything. So look, the Raiders are arguably the worst team in the NFL right now, and I have some more stuff on them for Case of the Mondays, but they just looked absolutely terrible. And I think this was complimentary football in a sense of the defense did exactly what they needed to do, and they stopped them every single time. And the Chiefs on the offensive side played perfect football.
About a month ago, the Chiefs were 0-2 heading to the Meadowlands for a primetime game against the Giants, who are better than they were then. They've got better players
Yes.
playing more minutes now. But we had the conversation of, is it time to hit the panic button? And it was, okay, as long as we beat the Giants and get our first win,
Yeah.
we don't need to panic. The two teams we lost to are good teams. We don't need to panic.
Well, I
Chiefs
think
beat the Giants.
the Raiders win too is absolutely huge.
Well,
Now,
yeah.
granted, Lamar went out with an
Ravens,
injury, and
yeah.
their defense had a ton of injuries as well. But
Absolutely, but kind of steamrolling the Ravens, and then you beat the Lions, and
Yeah.
yeah, you're feeling much better. The Broncos had an unbelievable comeback that we'll talk
my
about a
gosh.
little later. So they are still atop the AFC West, and the Chargers took a loss as their defense fell apart against Indiana Jones, who I guess is just the best quarterback since sliced bread. I don't know, but Chargers and Chiefs are both 4-3, and the Raiders are bottom feeding after a 10 of 16 for 67-yard performance by Geno Smith. They are 2-5. After this, we're going to be joined by Kevin Flaherty from the Kansas City Sports Network to talk all things KU. You're watching Rock Chalk Sports on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com.
I'm Justice Finkley. You're watching KansasNation.com. Rock Chalk.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Every Monday on the show, we're joined by Kevin Flaherty from the Kansas City Sports Network. Kevin, thanks for making the time. As always, big week, right? Dillon Sunflower Showdown. We've got stuff beyond just football and basketball coverage. Of course, KU K-State volleyball, KU K-State baseball. They're having some fall ball action as well. And of course, KU soccer, a top 15 RPI team in action too. But hey, let's talk KU basketball. Late night was on Friday. Always fun getting to see the guys, even if it is just for a little bit, and some talented players on this year's team. KU heads to Louisville for what's kind of become an annual road game to kick off the exhibition season. What are you most looking forward to seeing on Friday at 6:30 when the guys take the court, and anything else that caught your eye from the guys?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's always interesting to see in these secret scrimmages is it's hard to get a feel for rotations, right? Like, I think all of us have a feeling of this guy will play this many minutes roughly, or this guy might fit into this, but you don't know who they're going to play well with. You don't know, hey, these guys are going to be part of a substitution package together where you try and have them out there. I think that's going to be one of the things. And the other thing, guys, is throughout sort of these secret scrimmages, the offenses have been way ahead of the defenses. And so I think with this Kansas team, one of the things that will be interesting to watch is this is a team that I think could be kind of clunky scoring the ball at times. I think that if you were to have a quote unquote weakness, or say, hey, this is something that might not go entirely according to plan, that could be one of those things. But I do expect them to be an elite defensive team. Where are they at from a defensive standpoint? It's early. You obviously have a lot of time until Champions Classic, until you start really getting into those tough games. But still, where's the defense at right now? Are you in a spot where guys are making good individual plays? Are you even having some good team defensive stops? I think that's going to be one of the things that a lot of people look at the final score and freak out too much about that stuff, because coaches in these things are usually throwing a lot of stuff against a wall to see what fits. But one of the things that I do want to see is, hey, is the defense coming along to where you can sort of see the vision, even if it's just for a few possessions here or there, that this can be something this team's really, really good at.
Well, speaking of defense, Melvin Council Jr. is someone who's spoken very highly of, and we think he's going to start at the 2 alongside DP. We don't know for sure, but one thing that Coach Self said on Wednesday at Media Day here in Lawrence was those two with Elmarco Jackson are probably going to get the 80 minutes, or at least that's how he envisions it at the 1-2. So that takes me to my question at the 3 spot, right? There's all this talk on Cole Rosario, and everybody's very high on him. Haven't heard quite as much from Jaden Dawson, but those are maybe the top 2 guys from a 3-point shooting standpoint. Your take on the 3 spot and who's going to win that out?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Jaden Dawson's being sort of the one guy who's a little bit banged up right now, but no, and the funny thing about it is I think you could see some stuff where all 3 of those guards also play together, and one of them, I would guess Council, would get some minutes at the 3. I mean, maybe you have Peterson as your defender at the 3 because of his size, and go with the other guys being the 1-2 defensively. But yeah, at that 3 spot, I do think it's really interesting, because Dawson is maybe the most important guy from a, hey, if this guy can space the court, can hit shots the way that he did a year ago, he adds so much to this offense and the way that they're going to be able to continue to sort of create space for that 2-man game that you're going to see between Darren Peterson and Flory Badunga. Cole Rosario, I had a chance to talk to him a little bit. He says he loves playing with Darren Peterson because 5 guys go to Darren Peterson when he gets into that paint, and it gives him some open shots. If those guys can make shots, then it's really going to make things a lot better for everybody else. And I thought 2 guys, I know you asked about the 3, but I think some of the comments that people had about Trey White being underrated as a shooter could really help this team, sort of reach its offensive potential as well.
Kevin Flaherty, KCSN, joins the show via Zoom. And Kevin, we know the front court is going to have a very different look, right? Obviously, with Hunter and KJ both going to be gone, you're going to start seeing Flory start to, play virtually every single minute. And you got Trey White, who, can actually shoot the ball, kind of a little bit farther out. But I want to focus on the backcourt, because the backcourt's so interesting to me, because you had DeJuan Harris at the helm, right? Yep. You had Rylan Griffin and Zeke Mayo. Now you have 3 brand new guys and a couple of rotational pieces we don't know. What's going to be the biggest difference between the 2 backcourts, the 1, 2, 3 position from last year to this year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just that you're going to probably have at least 2 of those guys be able to shoot, and potentially all 3 being able to score. And I think that was the biggest difference. And I always thought DeJuan Harris caught maybe a little bit too much flack. I think you can have a DeJuan Harris and win a lot of games with DeJuan Harris, but the lineup construction around DeJuan Harris didn't necessarily do him a lot of favors. But at the same time, you had to be careful in kind of how you constructed that around him to make sure you had enough scoring on the court. When Darren Peterson's your point guard, you aren't worrying about, man, is our point guard going to be able to get points tonight? And right. So I think that's going to be the single biggest difference. I think the fact that when Rylan Griffin wasn't making shots, AJ Storr was an inconsistent shooter. And so it was possible and you throw KJ Adams into that mix, it was possible for you to have a 1-3-4 not making shots, with Zeke Mayo sort of being the one guy who was shooting from the outside. I do think they'll have more guys making shots this year. And so that should be a major difference with this year. And I do think there's a lot of defensive potential with that group as well.
And when you're talking about making shots, obviously late night in the Phog was on Friday. I think the stat line was like 2 for 15 from the 3-point line. How much stake do you actually take in that, right? Because it's late night and it's just a practice. And every single year, everybody asks, oh, well, Coach Self, what'd you see? And he goes, oh, it was awful. It's terrible. It's the worst basketball I've ever seen in my life. So how much stake do you actually take in that? Because if anything, last year it was a poor shooting performance of late night, and then that kind of bled into the regular season. Do you think that's going to happen, or are you not hitting the panic button and saying, all right, well, it was late night? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not worried at all. I mean, if you want to go the other way, remember when all of us thought Carlton Bragg was going to be a superstar based on what he did at late night. And you know, and I'm not trying to throw shade or anything like that. I just think so often it's our first chance to see these guys, and so it's so natural to put an abnormal amount of emphasis sort of on what we see for good or better. You know, Darren Peterson went over from the 3-point line. I don't expect that to happen that often. And so if Darren Peterson had made all of his 3-point shots, I'm not sure we'd be having this conversation. You'd be saying, "Oh man, this team looks fantastic," even though it was still once again, you know, one scrimmage on one night, and quite frankly, after they'd been, you know, dancing and doing skits and all of the other things that leads into the scrimmage. And so, no, I don't put a whole lot of stock into it. I think it's one of those things that really it's tough to figure out probably for the first month or so of the season, and even within that month, you're probably going to have some moments where even if this team isn't a great shooting team, they're going to have a few games where they make shots, and you're going to say, okay, well, maybe they could be. It takes just such a much larger sample size in order to figure that stuff out.
Yeah, it all starts, at least from an exhibition standpoint, Friday, 6:30, KU and Louisville at the Yum Center. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on that game, Kevin, when we have you on next week. But let's go to football, right? Biggest game of the year coming up, undoubtedly. Saturday, 11 a.m., the Dillon Sunflower Showdown, KU K-State. Let's start just talking from some personnel standpoint regarding KU. You were the one who brought it up on the show last week regarding the struggles at the tackle positions and pass blocking. Well, run blocking has been an issue too. Certainly there have been holes in KU's defense as well. Just kind of wherever you want to take this, what's the area of improvement that we need to see from Kansas the most if they're going to knock off K-State?
Yeah, it's got to be the run defense, right? Because that's one of the areas you're struggling, and coincidentally, that's what K-State wants to do against you. And so that's sort of that area where you really have to shape things up. And I think, you know, you have the extra time there. I think you had the chance to watch the tape and say, hey, these are the things that we're doing wrong. These are the ways that we can potentially correct this. Some guys getting healthier, I think, will probably help with that a little bit. I think the communication has been off at times. There have been a lot of different reasons, I think, for the struggles with the run defense. Generally speaking, I think the defensive tackles have been pretty solid. But when it comes to either setting the edge with some of those guys and being inconsistent there, and then the way that they fill from the second and third levels, there have been some things that haven't gone right. That's the one area that I'm sort of watching on Saturday to say, hey, if this is improved, if it looks like second half UCF rather than first half UCF, Kansas is going to have a really good shot to win this game, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you seeing out of K-State? Obviously, Dylan Edwards has kind of been day to day, and been dealing with some injuries. Avery Johnson, he's been really good, but also not the Avery Johnson everybody kind of expected. They can do it through the air, and then on the defensive side, Austin Romaine has been awesome this year. They've had a really good defense. What are you seeing out of K-State? Just give us a preview of how you think this game is going to go.
Yeah, the scary thing for KU is the win over TCU was kind of textbook K-State, right? In terms, I always joked around that Bill Snyder probably retired with the most wins where the other team walked off the field afterwards and said, we were the better team, but they won the game. Yeah. And that was, I think if you poured some true serum down TCU's throat, they would have said, hey, we felt like we were better than those guys, but you had the turnovers, two of which went for touchdowns. One was like a backwards pass that got run in. I think there was a pick six as well. And so that's what K-State can do to you. And I think that's the other part that's kind of tricky for Kansas in this one is how do you approach that part of it? Because typically in this rivalry, Kansas has made sort of the absolute back-breaking mistake at the wrong time. And it's either come in terms of turnovers, special teams, or both. And I think that when you look at this K-State team, I think they're equipped to do the same thing defensively. You mentioned Austin Romaine is a terrific player. If Jacob Rodriguez didn't exist, he would probably win linebacker of the year in the Big 12. He's having just another terrific year. He was a great player a year ago. And I think that they've got the different pieces from like a pass rush standpoint, to to trouble you. On the back end, they're a little bit young. You can get them maybe a couple times a game, but at the same time, I think those guys are going to be pretty good. They're trending up too. Offensively, it's been a little bit weird, guys, because it's been one of those things where I think if you or I were coaching Kansas State, we would say, hey, Avery has a chance to be college Lamar Jackson. I know that's not fair to him. I'm just saying, like, sort of the way that you want to deploy him. And there were some moments earlier this year where you felt like, whether it was schematically or, him being told not to run, maybe there were opportunities there and Avery didn't run. Now against TCU, I think he got out a little bit better. I think against UCF, he might have it as well off the top of my head. But it's one of those things where for K-State, I think, to be the best version of itself, you really need that threat of Avery's legs. And so he's done a pretty solid job throwing the ball. I think they've got some pretty good receivers. If Dylan Edwards is healthy, then they are really tough to stop because he brings so much explosion to that offense. And obviously their tight end position is so difficult to defend, especially when you get down in the red zone. It feels like those are the guys they want to go to all the time. But K-State's still got a lot of pieces, guys, and they're starting – it's a little bit similar to KU a year ago, where you kind of looked at them and said, KU's not this bad. Like, things are going wrong, but there's something there. And then they rolled off the 3 straight wins over ranked teams. I think K-State's a little bit similar this year, and that you have something there where if you look at all the pieces and everything, you say this team is not as bad as their record indicates, and maybe they're starting to trend into that sort of starting to put things together, which should make Saturday's game a really good one.
Kevin Flaherty, KCSN Pay Heat Podcast, joins the show here via Zoom. And Kevin, wanted to ask you about the press conference today. Obviously, we heard from Coach Leipold earlier today. You had a bunch of great questions to him. Did anything stick out to you? I know that he had an interesting answer about the rivalry and how big of a rivalry this is for you guys. Did anything that Lance stick out to you today?
Yeah, I really thought it was interesting, his comments about basically when I asked him about the added oomph because of the offseason stuff. And when I talk about that, one of the things that they had talked about before spring practice started, Gildersleeve brought it up, was he said that when they did their sort of, hey, this is our fourth quarter part of conditioning, we're working to finish, they had to watch/listen to the last 2 minutes of the K-State game from a year ago. And if that's me, I'm getting pretty sick of that, and I'm getting pretty ticked off because this is a family show, and I probably shouldn't say other things. But and that was kind of why I asked the question: is does that add a little bit of an added edge? And he was saying, when you go out to play football, you should always play hard. Your effort should always be, hey, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to execute. I'm going to make this tackle. And I think, to his point, one of the areas that a lot of coaches will talk about is if there's bulletin board material the week of, they don't actually think it's that effective, right? Because there's not really that much what you're going to try and win the game now on Saturday and you weren't before. Where it does maybe have an impact is in the offseason stuff. Maybe you're ticked off and so you lift a little harder that day. Maybe, you go a little harder on a random day in June because you're like, man, I don't want that to happen to me again. And I think that'll be the interesting thing for Kansas in this one, because I don't think it's a secret that for a significant portion of time, Kansas State has taken this rivalry more seriously than Kansas has. I'm not saying under Leipold. I'm not saying last year, the year before, whatever. I'm just saying for a chunk of these 16 years, Kansas State took more Kansans. It meant more to K-State. I think that was pretty apparent with the way those games played out. It will be very interesting to see if maybe Kansas does have a little bit of a harder edge on Saturday than you would normally expect, simply because, hey, for months we had to relive what happened in the final couple minutes of that game, a game that Kansas should have won.
Yeah, and honestly, they should have won a couple years ago as well. Rich Miller had the dropped, would have been pick 6, and Trevor Wilson had the fumble. And a lot of these mistakes are special teams. Of course, Jameel Croft Jr. stepping out of bounds last year, and we had the late fumble as well. So, yeah, kind of been snake bitten in these last 2 years in particular, where you feel like Kansas maybe even if they're not the better team, 2 years ago they had their third string quarterback in, and he still gave them a good chance to win. They should have won those games. On that note, Kevin, how important is this one for Jalen Daniels? Because he's one of the best quarterbacks the University of Kansas has ever had. Didn't get Mizzou earlier this year. Obviously, we have not beaten K-State. JD hasn't played in all those games since he's been here, but 16 straight losses to the Cats. This is an opportunity for JD to really have his moment.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is the, I'm not a big fan of the whole like legacy game thing, but at the same time, this is Jalen's chance to go out and have a really strong showing. And if Kansas wins, then Jalen will forever be remembered at tailgates, right? As the guy that broke the streak. If Jalen Daniels comes out and throws for 300 yards and runs for the game-winning score or whatever, and Kansas breaks the streak, then when, all of us are sitting there toasting our beers, and talking about, man, it was fun to watch Jalen. Oh, that K-State game. He was so good. And so I think that's one of those great things. And I'm glad you brought up how good he's been, because as weird as it sounds, it's one of the quietest, like sort of all-time great seasons that I can remember. And I get that Kansas is 4-3, but Jalen's on pace for 33 touchdowns and 4 picks. And that's just the passing stuff. He's completing almost 70% of his throws. He's got a passer rating that's the best of his career, and he's doing so many different things right. And I feel like even when you had like that 3-9 team with Carter Stanley, it was maybe even celebrated at the time, like, hey, it's been a while since we've had a good quarterback.
Yeah.
This guy's got a pulse, right? Like he's doing pretty well. And so I do think that this is sort of the chance for Jalen to sort of erase the quiet part of that, where maybe people across the nation even start looking at it and saying, man, this is a great year, because Jalen is having an elite quarterback year and being one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12 this season.
Yeah, he really is. 11 a.m. Saturday. I mean, what an opportunity. And again, I know everybody wants to see a really close, competitive, great college football game. I don't. I want to see KU win by 4 or 5 touchdowns. Everybody gets home safe. We celebrate the end of the streak, all that. But either way, as long as it's Kansas coming out with a win, then we're going to take that. Kevin, tell us what you got going on Kansas City Sports Network this week.
Yeah, we actually went out to Hayes Great Bend this past week and talked to some of the best players in the state, a few of which will actually be Gus Corsair and Cooper Omocht are going to be at Kansas this weekend. And then on Friday, I am going out to actually see J.J. Dunnigan play. So
nice.
That'll be a good time, and getting a chance to see the number one player in Kansas's recruiting class. I've had a chance to see him in person a few times before, but this will be the first chance to see him in full pads this year. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out Kevin on Twitter at Flaherty, KCSN. A couple of great podcasts as well. Great coverage of local sports, high school sports, everything you need to know. Kevin, appreciate it. It all starts now, right? It's busy season. So looking forward to chatting next week.
Thanks a lot, guys.
You got it. It's Kevin Flaherty joining us here on Rock Chalk Sports. Stick around. More coming up after this on Rock Chalk Sports on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back here live in the Kansas Nation studio with Dan Courtwright. I'm Sean Kellerman. Thanks for listening on ESPN Kansas City. Really appreciate Kevin Flaherty. He's got great thoughts, and I want for the players, the coaching staff, everybody involved in the KU football program for the streak to end and KU to get it done Saturday at 11, and also for the people who cover the game, the people who've done it a long time. Matt Tate, Kevin Flaherty, these guys have been around covering KU, and they deserve to see a win as well. So hopefully that's the case Saturday, and it's a joyous celebration after.
Question, because I know people were upset about the 11 a.m. kickoff. How do you feel about it as a media member?
Oh, I love it.
Okay, yes.
I love it. Yeah. I was talking to Greeny a little bit earlier today at the press conference, and it's like, yeah, man, let's get in there. Let's get after this. Like, let's kick it off. I mean, there's something to be said. If I were a fan, I'd probably like the later one, because then you have the all day build up, and you're throwing back a few lemonades, having some hot dogs. It's great. That's kind of the big event.
But you got to block off like 9 hours of your day.
Right. So it's that way I can be done with the work side of things and then still have a little bit of family time, Saturday time, all that. But no, for this one in particular, let's kick it off, man.
Yeah,
right?
I think
It's
so.
been a long time since we beat these guys, so let's get it done. All right, case of the Mondays. Dan, kick us off.
I'm going to kick it off. This weekend was a milestone for me. Not a good one. It's Case of Mondays for me because I found my first gray hair in my head.
Welcome to the club.
I know, Sean, you've had gray hair for 60, 70 plus years. I know,
Yes.
and I wanted you to kind of look back, far back to when you didn't have gray hair, which would have been like
Not as far back
like
as
the
you think.
Eisenhower
You've caught up.
administration, probably
You've caught
around
up.
there. I have. Also, we have a basketball hoop here in the studio, and I'm pretty sure I threw my back out while I was shooting hoops. My body is deteriorating, and I think within the year it's going to turn into a powder, just a dust of sorts. I'm going to
Is it going to be a
dissolve.
dust of sorts that gets blown away into the wind and then is forgotten about?
Yes, yeah. Basically, yeah. It's like, yeah. It's just I'm a fragile man now. So my
Man.
fiance, we were at her parents' house actually, and we just got a new dog. His name is Mac, and he has white hair. And she was looking at my head, and she goes, "You have a gray hair." I said, "No, it's probably Max."
Oh, man.
And she starts like sifting
That's
through my
the
hair.
best. That's the
'cause-
best when somebody else notices it.
I know, and because she has thought that she's found gray or white hairs before, and it turns out it's just been dog hair. Because
On your head?
on my head,
Okay.
on my head, and I have another dog. He's black, but he has white like legs, and we found his hairs sometimes in my hairs too. And she was looking through like
Sifting
a
is the word,
monkey,
yes.
like a monkey grooming another monkey, and she pulled on it, and it hurt.
Yeah. You're like,
And I
"Uh-oh,
said,
this is a
"Oh
problem."
no,
Yep.
that was in there.
Hey,
that
this
was
is-
bad." And she pulled it out. She held it up to the light, and she held it against like a dark piece of clothing, and she said, "Yeah, that's
This
a gray
is real.
hair.
This is
It's,
real.
It's
Hey, get used to it.
I am like
You thought you were
I
going to
s-
be
it ruined
absolved from that.
it ruined the rest of my weekend. It
Yeah.
really did. Like I went to the a Walgreens and started looking for reading glasses. Like I all of a sudden I have a sudden urge to eat oatmeal and prunes.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
You threw your back out.
I'm wearing my pants way too high, and I'm tucking my shirt
Tuck your shirt in. Yep.
I'm starting to look at my phone like this. My body
What
is
size
aging,
fonts
and
are the texts on your phone now?
I'm about to start. I'm about to
32?
change them. I'm
Yeah,
about
32 would be good.
Yeah.
Hey, get used to it. Get used to
It's
it,
not
sister.
good. I know. And here's the thing. Like you always tell me, I'll be a good old man, but
Turns out you already are.
I figured, oh, that's 40, 50 years down the road. Whenever I get to Sean's age,
Yeah.
and
It's just not the case. It's right now.
It's getting here, man.
It's right now. You
It's
officially
bad.
caught up.
But the good news, we are playing slow pitch softball today, and I have a chance to redeem myself. I think
You
that
also have a chance to injure yourself again.
I do. I did injure myself, both of my hamstrings, a couple months ago. How did you do when you found your first gray hair? What was your immediate reaction?
I was denial. It was denial.
Sure.
But you'll get past it.
Okay.
I mean, you'll get past it, but
fair
the
enough.
gray
Yeah,
hairs
you
will
were
keep coming.
probably like I bet you remember the day you watched Nixon resign, and you're just like, man,
I thought it was
this is
Eisenhower.
crazy. And then
Eisenhower
you
was
started-
funnier.
You're like, oh my gosh.
Eisenhower was funnier. You use that.
I'm trying to think of like a good historical reference
That's
to
what I'm
like
saying. You just
you
use
remember
Eisenhower.
exactly
Stick
where
with
you
that.
were.
Ah, I see. Speaking of youth, it's a case of the Mondays for Babyface because
Was it?
our man Christian Brown
Yes.
got rid of the babyface, grew out his beard,
That's right.
and he done got paid.
He did get
5 years,
paid.
$125 million. It came out today for CB to sign, well, I guess extension of his rookie contract with the Denver Nuggets. So the Nuggets see value in this kid who has continued to rise, the pride of Burlington. But yeah, he's got a new beard.
Good for
Babyface is
him.
gone,
I
and now he's
know.
got some funds.
I liked the baby face though. Ever since he got that beard, I'm just like, it's not the same CB. I want the little coif and the baby face and the yelling. It's always fun. He always looked like a little child.
Oh, the yelling's still there.
I know it
Yeah,
is.
you don't
but
worry
it's still,
about that.
It's not as much of a novelty anymore now that he's got a beard now, and his hair is kind of like almost like a buzz cut.
We have a Christian Brown autographed jersey here in
We
the
do.
Kansas Station studios, but I want to shout him out for that. We
Shout
talked
out.
Chiefs Raiders a little bit earlier,
Yes,
but you've got a stat that we didn't bring up that we need to because it's alarming.
I do. Case of the Mondays for the Raiders. Geno Smith is it fair to say he's the worst
10
quarterback?
of 16, 67 yards. What happened? He was a fun story for a while.
Yeah, for a while.
Went to the Raiders.
Well, that's the thing with quarterbacks. Whenever they suck, and then all of a sudden they're like mediocre, then everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, they're great." It's like, no, they just took a step up. Like anybody who takes a step up, it's like, yeah, it's a low damn bar for Geno Smith, who was essentially cast aside, and then he wound up stumbling into a starting spot on the Seahawks, and they did fine. Like they weren't exceptional by any means whatsoever. He had a couple of really good quotes, and that's about it, right? Oh, they wrote me off. I didn't write back. Cool, man. Whatever. You're still a fine quarterback, right? He's the worst quarterback in the NFL. I do have a stat. The Chiefs, they had as many first downs, 30, as the Raiders had total plays on Sunday, 30.
I missed the opening kickoff, but
that was the most exciting part of the game.
I was obviously entrenched in the game throughout, and the whole time, we got to late second. I'm like, man, the Chiefs have had the ball this entire game. They're just putting together these long drives and scoring, and then the Raiders are punting. I was shocked when the Chiefs received the second half kickoff. It's like, oh my God, the Chiefs kicked off and they've had the ball this entire time. Yeah, it was just a total domination, and that just makes you so happy as football fans.
It does, and here's the thing. I know you'd said about the KU K-State game. You said, I want this to be a boring game. I want KU to handle this one and just walk away with this one easy, without a doubt.
And not you. You want to see Avery Johnson out there balling.
No. That's
balling,
not. No, I'm comparing it to the Chiefs Raiders game. The Chiefs Raiders game was so boring to watch, just because of the fact that you're like, look, we get like
hang that W.
I love the fact that the Chiefs whipped up on the Raiders. But dude, I was like, I mean, third quarter rolled around and Gardner Minshew was in, and you're like, dude, is this like Tennessee versus like Eastern Michigan? Like it really felt.
You talk about the game plan being executed. I mean, that just was completely.
Gosh,
it's one of the most dominant games I've seen.
When's the last time you saw a backup quarterback come into the third quarter in an NFL game?
That rarely happens. It rarely happens.
I was like, they should stop.
Plus
this
victory
game.
formation at the end before it was even.
I know. They need to stop this game before it gets like
they're pulling Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah, like cut the minutes down. Play 8-minute quarters. Play 5-minute quarters, because there was a point where I was like, I feel bad for the Raiders.
At some point, we got to admit the Chiefs are back. They're 4-1 since that 0-2 start. Right. They got Rashee Rice. Let's keep this rolling. It's also a case of the Mondays for the Red Raiders. Texas Tech, who we a week ago said probably weren't going to lose. Granted, we did say that at Arizona State was going to be tough.
True.
They lose. They didn't have Baron Morton. They went with Will Hammond. ASU actually blew this lead late. Tech took the lead, but then Arizona State was able to get it done. They dropped Texas Tech from 7 to 14 in the poll. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
they dropped 7 for losing at Arizona State, who's a quality program.
I can see losing. I see dropping like 4 or 5.
Maybe. I will be shocked if they lose another Tech. Granted, it seems like they need Morton back, but the rest of their schedule, you got to think that they're going to be.
Will Hammond is still a good quarterback.
11-1, yeah.
He's very different quarterback.
Young,
but still good.
more of a run first, if you will. Although he had a couple nice passes, but yeah, Tech loses. BYU over Utah again in the Holy War. BYU, the highest ranked team now in the new AP Top 25, ranked number 11.
Yeah. By the way, did you see TCU Baylor? They played in the Blue Bonnet Showdown. Is that what they call it?
Is that what it's called? Yeah. There were 2 lightning delays.
So yes, but also like even the TV crew and everybody is still just, they love calling it the Revivalry, which is a great name.
It's better.
But they wanted to change it to the Blue Bonnet something. And I was like, that's Blue Bonnet. Well, that's so dumb. Revivalry is a great name. The Holy War, great name. There's a lot of, because the Big Ten is known for like all great nickname rivalries, like the Little Brown Jug and all this stuff. It's like, give us the Revivalry, right? The Holy War and the Revivalry, 2 awesome names.
The best is Michigan, Ohio State. The game,
yeah.
That's the best one.
Absolutely.
Case of the Mondays, we mentioned this earlier, but
yes, Babe Ruth truthers. Case of the Mondays for them, because Babe Ruth, he was playing with milkmen and grocery baggers, and he's not good, because if Shohei Ohtani would have played back then, he would have they would have made it illegal for him to play. Shohei Ohtani probably had the best single game in MLB history.
It has to be, right?
Potentially the best single game in any sport ever. The most dominant performance in any sport.
It's got to be.
This would be like if Patrick Mahomes were to throw for 5 touchdowns, 350 yards, and then also have
two pick sixes,
two pick sixes and
Punt
like
return
3
touchdowns.
sacks, right? It's the most insane thing. So I have a couple of stats for you, by the way. So we did mention his stats, which are, he had, let's see, 10 strikeouts and 3 home runs. He went 3 for 3, 3 home runs, 6 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 2 hits, 10 strikeouts. Entering that day, there had only been 12 hitters who have ever had 3 home runs in a postseason game, and only 26 pitchers who have ever recorded 10-plus strikeouts, 2 or less hits, and no runs in a postseason start. Shohei Ohtani did them both in the same game.
It's ridiculous. I mean,
It's
there's
the most
no more words. It just, we're watching greatness. We're watching probably the greatest player in baseball history.
So now here's the real question: is it money well spent?
Yes.
So
Are you kidding?
I this is leading into something. Do you think that there should be a salary cap for baseball? Because this is a big point of contention. Jeff Passan wrote about this. He said in 2027 that the Los Angeles Dodgers are going to be a prime example of why they need to have a salary cap, and the Los Angeles Dodgers are obviously going to push back on this, which could lead to a holdout, which could lead to no baseball being played in 2027 because the union is going to bring this up. Is it bad for baseball?
I want to say yes. Especially, this goes into my next Case of the Mondays, which is Case of the Mondays for the little guy.
Mm-hmm.
The Milwaukee Brewers had the best record in Major League Baseball.
Damn.
The Dodgers just took them out back and did unspeakable things to them. I mean, seriously, Dan, they just swept them in a 4-game series. The Brewers, 23rd of 30 highest payroll. They were able to put together a roster with the 23rd highest payroll and win more games than anybody else during the regular season. And then they just get taken out back and just destroyed by the Dodgers. So that was a bummer. But the Royals winning the World Series and going back-to-back in 14 and 15, I think it felt better because we're a small market team.
Yeah.
So there is that. I don't know. But anyway, we don't have a ton of time, so we might have to revisit that.
Well, the manager did say, he said, let's ruin baseball more.
Yeah.
And it's like, on it. It's like, all right, man, come on, let's relax. Case of the Mondays for lawns across America. I have a picture for this one. Cooper Flag, he's come out with a new signature shoe with New Balance, and check these bad boys out. Could you see yourself, especially, so with me having gray hairs and a bad back, could you see yourself throwing these bad boys on and just mowing the hell out of some lawn?
These are too nice. I need it to be all white.
Look at it. It's almost like they're already grass stained. That's what I love about them.
It's a great touch.
I love
but
that.
I like the all white so that the grass stain is real. It's legitimate.
So it's almost like pre-distressed jeans, if you will.
Yes.
You're like, no, you gotta earn the holes in your jeans by working hard. I actually feel you there, but man, oh man, I can see.
So
I know.
So good.
50 or 60 dads who are going to be all over these, and those are going to be their lawn mowing shoes.
Yeah,
they're unbelievable. I like the fact that New Balance is leaning into that too. They're like,
I like the fact that it's New Balance.
Same.
I mean, how about the little guy?
Right.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Case of the Mondays, indeed.
Good for them for getting that deal inked. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of these basketball shoes, man. And plus, New Balance, they have a pretty good lineup, right? Kawhi Leonard, Cameron Brink is on there.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani.
That's
New
true.
Balance, New Balance Sky, and Cooper Flag. So shout out to New Balance. That's fun. Man, I like the fact that they're pre-grass stained, but I appreciate the fact that you want to work for your stains.
Yeah, to grass stain my own all white New Balances.
I will say this: I was in Burlington Coat Factory the other day, and I saw a pair of Air Monarchs, and I was this close to buying them. So I was like, I need them just for mowing lawns. Case the Mondays for Father Time. Russell Westbrook back, baby.
Kings.
Yep.
He was fun on the Nuggets. I thought that was a nice.
Brody.
I thought that was a nice fit. But yeah,
too.
he's back. A bunch of new places for
Yeah.
old faces in the NBA, which kicks off tomorrow night. Actually, NBA
That's
is already
right.
back and
It's true.
opening nights tomorrow. The New York Football Giants. Are you kidding me, Dan?
What happened?
They had a 99.8% chance of winning this
I
game
know.
against the
Unreal.
Broncos. So when you look at this game, the Giants were up 19-0, and they were up 26-8
I believe so.
at Mile High. Broncos come back, and at face value, you look at the final score, 33-32. If you click on the line score, you will see that the Broncos scored all 33 in the fourth quarter.
33 points in the
How
fourth
are there
quarter.
even enough possessions for that to happen?
That's not even the biggest part. the Giants missed an extra point.
I think they missed 3.
Well, yeah, they missed 3, but they missed
the most crucial one.
The most
late.
crucial one
Yeah.
at the end of the game, which led to them only being up 2, which led to the game-winning field goal. That was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it should be a 3-way tie, but credit Bo Nix, man. He's the truth.
That's a rookie thing, and I think it's good for Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo to get that loss.
Fantasy football drop. I do have Bo Nix on my team. He's been fine all year, but my team was fine yesterday, doing okay, and then I pulled up. I wasn't tracking that closely. I pull it up. All of a sudden, I've got 100 and something points. Oh my God, Bo Nix! That happens when you score 33 in the fourth quarter.
True.
So he went crazy.
Please, no, tell me more about.
You want to know more
team.
about fantasy? Tutu Atwell, actually.
Okay, so the Mondays for Mississippi State. This is just a weird stat that I saw. Billy Napier was fired by Florida, which is kind of sad. I like Billy Napier. I understand they're a little frustrated with DJ Lagway and everything about that. I thought he was a good coach. Billy Napier is now the 3rd coach in the last 5 years to be fired the morning after beating Mississippi State.
It was predetermined, but
isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Gus Malzahn was fired the morning after beating Mississippi State in 2020, and then Jimbo Fisher was fired in 2023 after beating Mississippi State the morning after, and then Billy Napier. It's like Mississippi State's probably like sitting there like, "Hey man, what the hell?" It's a
case of the Mondays in general when you are a coach fired after a game where for the team who beat somebody, and then you're fired because you lost to this team, right?
Yes.
But when that team lost to you and you still got fired, that's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, 100%. Got a couple more here. I have a picture for this one. Case of Mondays for Nichols College defense, because Monty Quinn just broke the NCAA record for the most rushing yards in a game. 522 rushing yards on 20 carries. That's unbelievable. 7 touchdowns for Monty Quinn.
You think you'd be able to do that? 522. I mean, how tired would you be after this?
What? 20 on 20 carries.
Yeah.
That means they're all long.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Like Tony Sands.
But he doesn't take that many hits. At least there's that.
You know how many carries Tony Sands had in the Mizzou game?
He had, let's see. Well, he had 395 yards, right? Or was it 396?
He still holds a record in that game.
Yeah.
Is 58 carries.
Oh my God. I thought it was high, but then I didn't know if you were
58 carries. That's the NCAA record for the most amount of carries in a game. Monty Quinn, 522 on 20 carries. Unbelievable stuff. Nichols College. I mean, what are you doing? Do you think they fire their defensive line coach, or at least their D coordinator?
Only if they beat Mississippi State, I think, does he get fired.
I got one more. Case of Mondays for Ryan Warsofsky's kids. Ryan Warsofsky, he's the coach of the San Jose Sharks. He's an NHL head coach, and a very funny clip came out. I have a video for this. Elijah, can you play this video? He's talking about what he would do to get a win.
But yeah, trust me, it sucks. Keep telling myself there's got to be a reason why this keeps happening in a sense. I'd give up one of my children for a win. So it's frustrated. I'm sorry for swearing. We're very, very frustrated, and we got to keep working.
Meanwhile, there's James Franklin, who's doing okay without a job.
Yeah, he's doing fine.
Yeah, a little bit different.
This guy's literally like, hey, I would literally give up one of my children. Sean, what would you do if you're a head coach? Would you give up your child?
No, hell no.
That's an insane thing. His kids are probably like, hey, man, what the hell?
I'm going to hope that this is just him being locked in game mode.
Yeah, I think, look, heat of the moment. Sure, I get it. Very funny. Which, by the way, he apologized afterwards, but not about the kids thing, about the swearing.
Yeah,
we bleeped it out, thankfully, but yeah, very funny. Where he's like, "Oh, sorry for swearing." He's like, "No, you should be sorry to your kids, man."
Man, those kids deserve a Happy Meal and then some. A couple special treats. That's rough. San Jose Sharks. Whew. Hey, after this, we're gonna hear from head coach Lance Leipold, who spoke to the media today at his weekly press conference. Huge weekend coming up. Saturday, 11 a.m. KUK State, the Dillon Sunflower Showdown here at the booth. You're listening to ESPN Kansas City and watching KansasNation.com.
I'm Justice Finkley. You're watching KansasNation.com. Rock Chalk.
Hey, let's hear from head coach Lance Leipold in advance of Saturday's Dillon Sunflower Showdown.
Morning. Good morning. Before we get rolling with questions, I'll just kind of recap last game and stuff. That obviously was a tough night down in Lubbock against an excellent football team. We can't we can't dig ourselves a hole, 21 points and against a top 10 team and expect to battle back. We did scrap to get 17 there for the half, but sustaining that was extremely difficult. Execution-wise, we give up. We're not gap sound on the first play of the game and give up an immediate touchdown, turn the ball over right back to them. Those things just, don't give you much of a chance in a night like that. So, didn't protect Jalen very well. Obviously 9 sacks, and it became a highly, we got ourselves behind the sticks a lot and allowed them just to tee off, which made it an even more of a hill to climb. It was a tough night that way all the way around. So we had 2 third and ones, I believe, in the second half. That one we get stuffed on a run, the other we get like a 10-yard sack, takes us out of field goal range. All those type of things that made it difficult. But I think most of you guys know that already, but just recapping areas of improvement. Obviously, pass protection is, again, we've got to be better in the red zone. Our gap discipline and communication defensively has to continue to improve. Again, we continue to work on different people in some of those spots there, especially in the secondary. Everything else regarding that night, I think, has been commented on enough, and really have no further statements at this time. So, fire away.
With the gap control stuff, is there something that's happening over and over again, or is it sort of malfunctions in different parts?
It's malfunctions different parts. If you really say, again, I think I've said this before, Kevin, is that if it was a person or a place where we could, this guy's not where he's supposed to be, and it's one guy all the time. It's different people at different times. It's continual communication, but obviously we leave an inside gap open right from the get-go, and that's very frustrating. As I had a chance to catch different parts of games this weekend, I watched different people gash runs, and I'm kind of like, wonder how he's answering that question after the game as well. Because it's frustrating for everybody. I know it's frustrating for our fans. Which can be better in those situations, but sometimes it's some of our best players that are doing those things. But it has to be a continual thing that we've worked on, and we need to be better. Otherwise, we're going to allow a team that's pretty dangerous to have a big day here Saturday.
In pass protection, when you have struggles like that, how do you sort of rebuild that confidence over the bye week for those guys?
But again, you got some pretty explosive players on that side that, okay, you give them some help, you try chipping. We talked about other things that we tried to work on practice-wise in handling things, handling stunts, communication, all those things that kind of get to guys that, pass protection, a lot of times it's technique, it's being physical, but a lot of times it can be confidence, and sometimes when you get yourself in a situation in a night like that, it gets pretty tough, and I think we that got to us a little bit, obviously.
This spring, right before the start of the spring, we had a chance to talk to you, and we talked to Sleeve, and one of the things that he had said was when you guys were working on finishing, players had to kind of hear or watch the last 2 minutes of last year's K-State game sort of over and over again going through that process. Was that something that you guys did all off season, and do you think that...
We did it on a regular basis because that was one, of course, we had battled with a lot of finishes, but that one was definitely a pretty bitter pill to swallow in a lot of different ways of opportunities, and again, from non-conversions to allowing things, they won the special teams that night as well, and creating a big kick. We have a chance, much like a Cincinnati game this year, you have a chance to probably end it with an interception or a turnover, and unfortunately it doesn't happen. But again, there's a lot of things there that we want to continue to try to emphasize on finishing ball games.
Do you think the K-State element, like players will have any sort of added oomph or whatever because they've had to sort of watch that or go through that?
I hope, but again, as I said, is that I've said this to you guys before, I think earlier in the season, heading into the Missouri game is, I don't know a way, guys know what, if it's a rival game and why, whether a guy just got here 6 months ago or 4 months ago, whatever it may be, or 6 years ago. The guys know that, but I always say this is that, well, they got to be extra fired up. They got to be this. Does that mean they're not fired up for other games or they're not prepared for other games? I don't know, and I try to think of it as if I was a baseball player, do I try to hit the ball? Am I hitting it harder than, what am I doing? No, you have a routine of trying to do your job, and you should be playing at your fullest each and every snap, no matter who you're playing against. But I do hope that there's an extra sense of urgency and attention to detail and some things that hopefully is more purposeful and intentional as we go through a game, for a game like this. Obviously we've knocked on the door on this a few times, but we've got to be able to play well for 60 minutes on Saturday. I didn't know this one. We do all this.
We were wrestling. Bye week, were you guys able to get healthy? What were you able to get accomplished?
We're still working through that. Not as healthy as we'd like to be yet in some spots, and some guys did practice yesterday. But we're hoping if we get to game day and we get to this first, I think you'll be able to see some of that in the first report here on Wednesday, where we're kind of trending. But I do feel, Daniel Highshaw, getting him Daniel played more in that game than we even anticipated, and he seems to be trending in a good direction for us that way. That was a high positive. Taylor Davis continues to work through things, and we're getting some gutty performances from guys, but I don't think we're any better or any worse than anybody in the country right now when it comes to health.
When you watch Kansas State, number one, what do you see on film? And do you see anything different than maybe the last couple of years, personnel-wise?
Again, what I see is a team that's been, kind of, snake bitten in some of this thing of how they've gone about, a lot of close games. They lose probably their most dynamic player on the first punt of the year, and Dylan's been in and out of games. He is so dynamic, and you can see it when he's healthy and on the field. You take Jace Brown, Avery Johnson, Dylan Edwards. When those three guys are on the field playing together, they have as much speed and explosiveness than any team in the Big 12 and compare with a lot of people nationally when they're all there and healthy. I think Oakley as a tight end has been highly impressive in how they've used him and the plays that he's made. They continue to have very good depth at tight end. They've added a couple receivers through the portal that are big physical guys who have been effective in the red zone, extremely strong in perimeter blocking. Again, it's a team that probably hasn't been exactly where Chris would like them, but again, a highly dangerous team. And when you watch parts of their game, you could see why they were a conference favorite early in the season and still have a chance. And I know they'll be confident enough after their last few weeks here that they can finish strong here down the stretch.
Lance, I know you touched on this a little bit, but when you look at the film, what's the biggest thing you see issue-wise with the run defense? I know that's been a problem as of late.
Again, I would continue to say it's a different thing on different plays sometimes. Again, it can be, is it gap integrity? Is it missed tackles? Is it angles? Is it communication that causes the breakdown and somebody being free? There's usually one of those components usually happen in there that is the problem, and we continue to work on it.
And obviously, Avery Johnson, Dylan Edwards are kind of prolific runners. What have you seen from them when you watch the film?
Again, when they're when Avery decides to run the ball, he's dangerous to score at any time. But again, I think his throwing is very underrated at time, and you can continue to see the evolution of an outstanding quarterback. That's, again, when they have people there that they're able to use schematically to continue to be dangerous with RPOs, motions, all the different things that they are able to do. Coach Wells has done a nice job, and I think also that after a few games, and I don't have exactly what they made a couple moves in the offensive line that I think has solidified some things for them and have made them better along the line. I know I didn't talk much defensively again. Can be very disruptive. Impressed with the consistent physical play of their linebackers. Guys in the secondary, Wesley Fair, another state player, has been very productive for him. You can see him kind of evolve into an experienced player that's playing with a lot of confidence out there for them, and I think they feed off of that. So again, challenges across the board, just like we'd expect.
I might be wrong, but it feels like the quarterback option game maybe hasn't been as prevalent in the game plans. Is that a decision to protect Jalen? Is it scheme related? What's maybe contributed to that?
It's what we're seeing defensively that's playing a big part in that. And you can see, and obviously we haven't. Was it Cincinnati game we ran when we had a bad pitch? And as soon as you do that, you probably don't run stuff as much. You've got to make sure it's the clean looks that you want to do it, but it's still part of the plan, and it will be. But I just think some of the things that when it's fallen into a time that we could call it and stuff, it's looks that make it extremely difficult to get executed.
And when Jalen has been in the pocket passer role, any metric out there is going to show he's one of the better players in the country. What's impressed you most about what he's been able to do throwing the football?
Again, the composure and consistency that we have, and kind of go off on the side. Part of our last game is, Jalen's made a lot of plays for this program, extending plays, and at times, sometimes when it doesn't go well, everybody's a little like, what's he doing? Why are we doing that? Sometimes you got to live with both sides of that. But when he has stayed in the pocket, and what you've seen in some of our games is he's been steadily going through his progressions extremely well, where I don't think that was necessarily the case a year ago. And because of that, and trusting and experience and going through that, I think he's been able to continue to build on confidence and again, spreading that ball around.
And then at left tackle, just how would you evaluate the position and the level of play you've gotten?
Well, we've only had one left tackle, so you're asking about one player, aren't you? Okay, I would say that Kelvin's played okay. I think we know Kelvin. Kelvin knows he needs to play better, and we need him to play better. And he's a little banged up at the moment, but he's given us everything we've asked of him, and I think it's been up and down, and I don't think he would disagree with that.
Coach, this is your 5th Sunflower Showdown. How has the rivalry kind of evolved in your eyes over the last 4 times you've met, now going into the 5th?
Well, I said it, I think, my very first year here, and I kind of, having a rivalry, one thing has to happen is that the games need to be competitive. And I don't know if it's much of a rivalry unless it's just based on locality, that if the game's not competitive. And I think the one thing we've been able to do after the first meeting 4 years ago was we've made the game competitive again. Now we've had some opportunities that we've let slip away, and it's our full intention that we find a way to close it out and finish the ball game when opportunity shows for us to have a chance to win.
And you're an early favorite in this game. I think the spread right now is 3.5 for KU. Is that some extra motivation?
For recreational purposes only, correct?
Yeah, correct, right, of course, yeah.
Just checking.
So that paired with this new stadium, how much do you anticipate these fans showing up and maybe more so than they have in years past?
Well, we need our fans there. I think you see it, and I think I've shared, with people within our building. Our last 2 games on the road have been very impressive places to play by atmosphere. Okay, and one thing about our trip to Lubbock, it was the loudest place we played at this year. Our trip to Orlando was a very impressive game day atmosphere. We need to create that here at David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium. And I know as things go, and I don't know if we, you can talk about Allen Fieldhouse. It's one of the greatest places to play basketball. Why? It's the atmosphere. It's not that it's a whatever 100-year-old building or whatever it's at. You know, it's the atmosphere that's created, and it's created by the fans. And fans are in college football are more impactful than sometimes we can realize. And creating that atmosphere. Yes, we have a renovated 2/3 new, brand new, shiny stadium that's really impressive. But if we don't have an environment in there, it'll not be fully put to its use. And we need our students, we need our fans, and again, in a state rivalry game like this, you know, we need it to be special, and not just for this game, but everyone there to follow, and it is important, and I get it. It's important for us to play well and give our fans reason to be excited about our program, but to me, they kind of go together in what it can be, and I hope we have a great atmosphere at 11 a.m. Saturday.
Who are some of the players that you'll look to maybe to impress upon their teammates the importance of this game?
Say that again, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Who are some of the players that you'll rely on to like impress upon their teammates how important this rivalry in this game?
Well, again, I don't know if it's you could refer to our in-state players. You can return to, you know, I look at the guys who have been here a long time, whether it be, you know, of course, Jalen and Daniel and Keenan Caldwell and Reduger. We've got guys who've been here. The in-state players understand. I think, you know, when we started to talk about this game and kind of go through our preliminary stuff as we do, I kind of looked in the room and he started looking at guys that haven't been here very long, but they get it, and they've been in those type of games in other programs that they're at. So, you know, yeah, I just think that's you know, like I say, the continual way that it'll go through, and I think other leaders in our program that have been around talk to guys, and they get a good grasp of it.
And then I just wanted to ask, with Joseph having played in only 3 games this year, have you talked to him about the possibility?
You know, there's a lot of, you know, unfortunately Joe was out the last game again. A lot of things are on the table there, but you know, we'll see where it plays out for Joe and where it's been. It's unfortunate. It's been a frustrating year for Joe. So
this feels like a camp question, or maybe even spring, but because K-State's had the same staff, how often do you look back at the 4 games you have played against Kleiman and his teams and try to look for trends and things like that when you're preparing for a game like this, or a game against anybody that's had that continuity?
Well, you know, Chris has done, and as I said, you know, there's probably, I'd say, you know, a great relationship, I believe, with Chris. I think a lot of them, I think I've said it from the day I arrived here, I think our similarities of our backgrounds are very parallel, but also a lot of things. He's probably the coach I may talk to the most in this league about when there's issues and things are going out, and sometimes that's not great for rivalries, but I think there's just goes with respect there. And we do look at a lot of things, but the one thing I think that people maybe not look at is he's on his 4th play caller since we've been here. He made a change after our first year. Okay, then he lost a coordinator, and he lost his play caller last year to the NFL. And again, in continuity for them, and you know, is a lot different as well. But there's still, you know, we'll watch for personnel, we'll watch how they attack us. But again, we have made changes along the way. But yeah, we go back and look at a lot of things as we go through, even as they've had changes in special teams coordinator that we'll continue to look at philosophically, you know, because that could be head coaching philosophy as well all the way through this. But we do.
That's head coach Lance Leipold speaking earlier today. After this, Monday Night Football game picks for a Monday Night Football doubleheader here on KansasNation.com. Thanks for listening as well to ESPN Kansas City.
This is Dale Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Hey, Big 12 Media Day is also coming up this week. Very busy week. The women tomorrow, and then on Wednesday, it's men's basketball media days. Big 12 over at T-Mobile, KansasNation.com for all of your content needs. Also want to shout out Miles Schneider and Crown Automotive. Appreciate their partnership. Doubleheader just about to start, Dan.
I know.
6 o'clock. It's going to be kickoff in Detroit. Lions hosting the Bucks. Lions are -6 Over-under is 54.5.
I love the Bucks on this line, man. +6. I know it's at Detroit, but the Bucks are looking good. Baker Mayfield's playing MVP caliber football. Love the Bucks at -112 here to cover the spread. I almost want to go as far as to say the Buccaneers win this game. That's at +225. Love them on money line. And then what do I do every single Buccaneers game? What's my prop? Emeka
Fade the
Egbuka,
Saints.
anytime.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Emeka Egbuka, anytime touchdown. Love Emeka Egbuka here. Also, I do like Baker Mayfield to go over 270 in this game.
So Mike Evans is not available right now. Okay, there he is. He just popped up. He's anytime touchdown +110. He's been questionable. I think Evans scores in this one at +110. That being said, I like the Lions -6. I think they're mad about what happened at Arrowhead last week. And for some reason, I'm leaning the under 54.5, even though that's not quite as fun. And then 9 o'clock, I mentioned the Seahawks, the back end of the doubleheader. They host the Texans. Seahawks are -3. Both these teams are kind of trendy, are they not?
Yes.
Over-under is 41.5. What do you like here?
I need Zachary Charbonnet to score a touchdown for my own selfish purposes because he's on my
full name in him.
Zachary Charbonnet. Okay. It sounds like a fine wine. He's on my fantasy team, and I need him to score a lot of points in order for me to win. So I like him at +125. I do like the Texans in this game to go ahead and win it +142.
How about the Texans drafting all of Iowa State's receivers?
Yeah.
Not only do they have Jalen Higgins and Jalen Noel, but they also have Xavier Hutchinson. You remember him from Iowa State back in the day. I want Jaden Higgins 25+ receiving. I'm staying away from this line here, but we'll have to see what happens. That's going to do it for Rock Chalk Sports here today. For Elijah Schmidt running the operations and Dan Courtwright, I'm Sean Kellerman saying catch you tomorrow from 4 to 6.